This ghost can't even walk, so if you encounter him, you have a 100% chance of survival, assuming you're not clumsy. But before I get into his story, let's go ahead with the trigger warning. This story includes topics of gambling and gambling addiction. There are also stories of mob ties and mob crime, and some dismemberment. So if you are sensitive to those topics, please go ahead and scroll. But if you've decided to stick along, let's go ahead and watch the video.
Most people have gambled at least once in their life. For Jimmy the Gambler Gambino, betting was his life and death. The son of a bookie, Jimmy spent his childhood days at the track instead of at school, and his nights in the gambling dens of seedy bars. Eventually, Jimmy opened a booking business of his own. Unable to turn down a bet, he barely covered his payoffs. Jimmy's reputation caught the attention of made man Larry the Finger Vitello. Larry approached Jimmy to place a large bet on the long shot in a heavyweight fight. Jimmy knew the risk, but needed to uphold his reputation, so he shook hands with Larry and sealed his fate. As his fighter took a deciding blow, Jimmy fainted to the floor. When Jimmy came to, Larry had arrived to collect his winnings, but Jimmy was cleaned out. So Larry made an example out of him. Actually, several small examples. He chopped him into little pieces, wrapping them in cellophane and dumping them into the ocean. Together they formed the pieces which completed my search for the torso.
So the torso is the second sign of the black zodiac, making him the equivalent of a Taurus. And I will tell you, I don't think I've ever been so disrespected by a depiction of the Taurus in my life. And I'm a member of the Taurus gang. Now, according to 13 Ghost lore, the torso wasn't unalived because he couldn't pay his debt. He was unalived because he tried to renege on his bet and then tried to run out of town. That obviously pissed the guy off that he made the bet with, and to make sure he learned his lesson, you can see the result. But honestly, I'm kind of partial to the second story as opposed to the one we got in the video, which kind of makes it seem like he's more of a victim who couldn't pay, who had a gambling addiction unbeknownst to him, and who suffered an unusually harsh consequence as a result. But the second story gives him a bit more accountability, and I like the idea that he tried to escape and run, and that's really what pissed off the gambler he made that bet with. But the torso is one of the least dangerous ghosts in the house. In fact, the one time we do see him, he's not even attacking anybody, he's literally just trying to find his head. And I kind of sympathize for him because imagine finally being released from your containment cell and you're finding your body parts along the way and some badass kid comes down the hall and starts screaming. I'd be scared too, and that's probably why the torso was screaming and then Bobby was screaming. It was just a whole mess. Now, one of the more interesting details about the torso's backstory is his last name. I always wondered if he was a member of the Gambino crime family or if he moved to Chicago and just adopted the last name in order to give himself more of a boost. But either way, I definitely think it increases the lore of 13 Ghost, and I think his story is one of the more interesting ones. So much like the other ghost in the basement, the torso is signified by his own unique sound. So if you were to ever find yourself caught down in the basement and you heard what sounded like somebody getting off of a plastic couch cover, then you would know you were in the crosshairs of the torso. You don't even have to run away from him though, you could probably just walk over him, because he can't walk, he can barely crawl, and really he's probably just trying to find his head. You were in good hands if you found yourself in the presence of him. Now, he is very scary because he does not have legs or a head, so if you felt the need to run away, you'd be justified, but there is no emergency if you see him. You probably should save your energy for the other ghosts. But anyways, let me know what you guys think about the torso and whether or not you think he fits the sign of Taurus. And we only have 2 more videos left, so if you guys have any more recommendations, please drop it in the comments, and I will see you guys in my next video.